I haven't seen much of Madrimov, but I think Crawford's a very technically great boxer, one of the best in this generation, so I think he'll get the job done.
Terence Crawford makes his debut at 154 pounds next month against Israil Madrimov.
Look, he's in deep. Like, what's he had, 12 fights? But he's got a huge amateur pedigree, and these are the fights he's been after.
And boxing professionals have made their picks ahead of the fight. While some have made shocking picks, others have gone with the expected option.
Division, my division. Big drama show.
One would think Crawford had done enough by stopping Errol Spence Jr. last year. And as such, many boxing professionals would be on Crawford's side. Terence Crawford.
It's underrated for the most part.
Oh yeah, the power's underrated. I think,
Well, it's totally not so, as countless others feel there's so much wrong about him stepping up in weight, and regardless of Madrimov's professional inexperience, Crawford would have a hard time dealing with the world champion.
Face to face.
Terence has never had to absorb a lot of big hits from a fighter, with Madrimov's striking strength in a real battle, so it may be dangerous for him if he has to endure more than 6 rounds of shots. Eddie Hearn is adamant that Israil Madrimov, the underdog, will defeat Terence Crawford in their main event on August 3rd at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles, California, which is broadcast on ESPN plus PPV next month. Hearn's prediction of Israil Madrimov winning is understandable, given that Crawford has bulked up for the fight and is anticipated to be slower and easier to hit. Crawford is not young, has never fought at 154, and is facing a puncher with a kind of power he has never experienced.
Look, he's in deep. Like, what's he had, 12 fights? But he's got a huge amateur pedigree, and these are the fights he's been after.
Promoter Eddie Hearn has doubts that the brilliance of Terence Crawford, already a 3-weight champ, will transfer to junior middleweight, where he challenges WBA boss Israil Madrimov on August 3rd. Crawford is widely considered to be the pound-for-pound best fighter in the sport today. He won his first title down at lightweight against Ricky Burns back in 2014, and since then has gone on to conquer the junior welterweight and welterweight divisions, becoming undisputed in both.
He's not a spring chicken, but he's still young.
Now Crawford, 36, is aiming to win a belt in a 4th division when he takes on Madrimov. Terence Crawford's first ever victory as world champion was on my show in Glasgow against Ricky Burns. It was at 135 pounds. Hearn, speaking as Madrimov's promoter, told Matchroom Boxing he won a world championship there. He moved to 140 and beat another one of our fighters there to become undisputed at 140 pounds. He moved to 147 and became undisputed at 147. Now he's moving to 154. Sooner or later, it's too much.
Don't rule him out of that fight. I look at Terence Crawford, who's a great character. It was nice to spend time with him. He's a cool.
Although Hearn accepts his fighter is the underdog going into the contest because of Crawford's past achievements, he believes that the size and power of the Uzbekistan fighter will be the deciding factor. I think when you're fighting someone who is a big 154 pounder with huge power, that is when you're going to get found out. Hearn continued.
But, I don't know. Sometimes you move up to 54.
Madrimov is the underdog going into this fight, but I think this is the toughest fight of Terence Crawford's career so far. Crawford will already go down as a great, but at some point, when you move through the divisions, one of those steps is just a step too far.
Look, he's in deep. Like, what's he had, 12 fights? But he's got a huge amateur pedigree, and these are the fights he's been after. He's not a spring chicken, but he's still young.
Fans see 37-year-old Crawford as a gimme for WBA junior middleweight champion Madrimov. Crawford looked amazing in his most recent bout, which took place on July 29, 2023 against Errol Spence Jr. Spence was a different guy, a spent, empty shell in that bout. Madrimov is not fatigued by 2 vehicle collisions, ring wars, or weight problems from poor eating and drinking habits in between fights. Instead, he is younger, stronger, and bigger than before.
Up to 54, you start to get a little bit old. He was fantastic in the Spence fight. It's a very tough fight for Madrimov, but he's a strong boy, and I think it's a tremendous fight.
I actually think Madrimov will beat Crawford. I know he's a big underdog to do it, but I think he can do it, said promoter Eddie Hearn in media reports. Crawford's victory against Spence and his explosive glove knockout victory over David Avanesian in his previous fight may have distorted the perception of the fighter among fans. Tim Tszyu, who'll be returning to the ring after a bloodbath against Sebastian Fundora in March, also chose Crawford as his favorite. He said, "I haven't seen much of Madrimov, but I think Crawford's a technically great boxer, one of the best in this generation, so I think he'll get the job done."
Boxer, one of the best in this generation, so I think he'll get the job done.
Sean Porter has also assessed his former rival Terence Crawford's chances of beating Israil Madrimov when the pair come to blows in August this year. This event marks the first stateside event put together by Turki Al-Sheikh, chairman of the board of directors of the General Entertainment Authority of Saudi Arabia, and will be held at the BMO Stadium in Los Angeles.
In the boxing world.
What are some words you'll give to Israel in preparation for a chance?
Porter and Crawford, of course, have history, as the two American welterweights came to blows back in 2021. Crawford won that fight by stoppage, his 9th in a row at that time, and was the first man to halt Porter inside the distance, having also put him down twice in the 10th round. Crawford retained his belt that night and then went on to his epic showdown with longtime rival Errol Spence Jr. back in July of last year. He was in fine form and eventually stopped Spence in the middle rounds, which saw him become the undisputed 4-belt king of the division, a feat which he has also piously achieved down at lightweight. Now, speaking at the launch press conference, Porter was asked for his views on how the fight with Madrimov might go while standing right next to Crawford himself.
Underrated for the most part.
Oh yeah, the power's underrated. I think
My first time looking at it was just this morning. I watched some Madrimov. I think, Terence, it always takes you a couple of rounds to see what these guys bring to you. I expect to see Madrimov in your face. I expect the stick to come out from Crawford. I expect him to start the fight orthodox. I think this is going to be a fun fight. You're going to have your hands full, but I think you will handle it. You always handle it. Some people are born to do what they do, and this kid is born to do what he does. Should Crawford come out victorious in his first tilt at World Honors in this new weight class, he will be well on the way towards competing for a chance to come undisputed in an unprecedented third separate weight class. The rest of the card will feature the likes of Abner Mares in a trilogy clash against Leo Santa Cruz, Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller in heavyweight, and Isaac Cruz versus Mexico's Jose El Rayo Valenzuela for a 140 pounds belt.
well, he's a great pressure fighter. He brings the mental and the physical pressure. Do what you do and do it as great as you can do it. Don't try to divert from that and do anything else.
Speaking on the fight back in April, Tim Bradley said Crawford would crush Madrimov. Hey, Crawford beats anybody he steps in the ring with. Anybody. No one beats Terence Crawford. And everybody trying to age him out? Bro, the dude 2 weeks ago did 15 4-minute rounds. 12 with Shakur, 3 with Shakur's cousin. 4-minute rounds, 30 seconds rest. Think about that. He has a fight when? August. He's gonna crush this dude at 54. Madrimov, he's gonna crush him. As the bout approaches, the Hall of Fame fighter turned analyst has adopted a more cautious take, as shown in a recent feature with ProBox TV. The ultimate goal is Terence Crawford wants to face Canelo Alvarez. He's on the tail end of his career. He said he only had a few fights left, and he wants to maximize as much money as he possibly can, and that's the Canelo fight. But you guys said it, Madrimov is no easy task. Terence has to get past him first.
Yeah, I think he stops him. And if he does, that's going to be the 4th weight class. I wouldn't mind seeing Crawford be a 6th division champion. That's just something that I thought about.
Former World Boxing Organization and World Boxing Council light welterweight champion Tim Bradley doesn't believe in any way that Crawford's August 3rd opponent, Israil Madrimov, can derail the Bud train. Instead, he feels Crawford himself is the only man who can end his reign of terror over the sport. Tim Bradley says Terence Crawford beating himself is the only way he loses right now. I think the only person that can beat Crawford is himself at this point, Bradley told Fight Hype recently. Madrimov is the champion and he must be respected, but as far as skill for skill, Crawford all day.
Who did he face? He faced, who was the guy? It wasn't Brace Prescott. It was another guy he faced. Anyway.
I think he'll do well against Canelo. I really do. Would I be nervous if they were to fight? Hell yeah, because Canelo can punch, and all it will take is one big punch, but as long as he uses his legs, his athleticism, and his defense to get out of the way, then he should be able to beat Canelo. Ahead of fight night, Crawford has also drafted in the services of boxing legend Andre Ward, who was seen doing some touch sparring with the Omaha Puncher.
As you move up to 54, you start to get a little bit old. I mean, he was fantastic in the Spence fight. It's a very tough fight for Madrimov, but
Ward uploaded a snippet of their move around to his social media channels on Tuesday morning, which showed Crawford working on his hand fighting at his home gym. The comments section was flooded with fans giving props to Crawford for the legendary link-up. Reacting to the clip, one fan wrote, "Iron sharpens iron." Another tweeted, "Two of the GOATs going at it." A third added, "Some knowledge in that ring." Somebody else posted, "This is why Terence is pound for pound. He has masters of the sport in his gym, and he gives them their flowers." Meanwhile, a fifth supporter remarked, "The two best Americans since Floyd Mayweather." Ward is one of a select few world champions who retired undefeated. Son of God famously hung up his gloves in 2017 with an unblemished 32-0 record after retaining the WBA, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight titles against divisional great Sergey Kovalev. Prior to moving up to 175 pounds, Ward had established himself as the No. 1 super middleweight of his era by winning the Super 6 World Boxing Classic Tournament and picking up the WBA and WBC titles at 168 pounds. Besides Kovalev, Ward also holds notable wins over Carl Frosch, Mikkel Kessler, Chad Dawson, and Arthur Abraham, while you'd be hard-pressed to find a list of the greatest 168-pound boxers of all time that doesn't include the San Francisco superstar. With his eyes set firmly on a fight against Saul Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight in the future, Bud makes the first tentative step towards the division by moving up to 154 and challenging undefeated 10-0 champion Israil Madrimov. The former two-weight world champion Andre Ward has voiced his opinion on the potential super fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. Bud has been targeting Canelo ever since he put in a career-defining performance last year against welterweight rival Errol Spence Jr.
Bud is definitely one of them, for sure. Tyke Shakur, Devin.
Although the Mexican originally dismissed the fight, he recently admitted he would be prepared to defend his super middleweight titles against the naturally smaller man if the money was right. Speaking on the All the Smoke podcast, Ward, who retired with a perfect record of 32 wins from 32 fights, named the two matchups he wants to see most in boxing, while claiming Terence Crawford is unbeatable by Israil Madrimov or anyone else. "I want to see Canelo fighting Terence Crawford or David Benavidez. You got two options. You can go to somebody in your weight class, or you can try and pick on the smaller guy Terence Crawford." On the potential Crawford-Canelo clash, his money would be on the man who last fought at 3 weight classes lower.
They're skillful in different ways. You know what I'm saying? But somebody that, like...
"I'm not betting against Terence right now against anybody, not doing it." Talking about the most skilled fighters in the game today, Ward says Crawford is someone you can bet your house on. "Somebody I can bet the house on is Bud. Me and him are so much alike in our mentality. He's skillful, yes, but his heart and mind are different. There's not a lot of guys like that out there currently. There's a lot of guys that talk it, but until you get in that real fight, I'm not saying a guy you should beat. I'm saying a guy that is a 50-50 matchup, then we don't really know what you have. He's different. He's a dog. That's the stuff that gets me out of my seat. It means that when you need to be that guy, you can be that guy."
Because me and him, we so much alike. And
Crawford returns to the ring on August 3rd when he makes his 154 debut against World Boxing Association champion Israil Madrimov in a bid to make yet more history in becoming a 4-weight world champion.
Our mentality, like soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room.
Danny Jacobs is just one of the many men who has failed to get the better of Saul Canelo Alvarez in the ring. The pair fought back in December 2019 for 3 of the 4 major middleweight titles. Jacobs already held the IBF belt, having beaten Sergei Derevyanchenko the year before, after previously getting the best of the likes of Caleb Truax, Peter Quillen, and Sergio Mora. He had, however, come unstuck against Gennady Golovkin in a fight in 2017.
We start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away.
At the time, Alvarez was freely moving up and down the weights. Before fighting Jacobs, he defeated Rocky Fielding for the WBA super middleweight title, and after the win, he went up to light heavyweight to defeat Sergey Kovalev for WBO honors. Canelo is the current undisputed super middleweight champion who is currently being called out for a fight with former two-weight undisputed champion Terence Crawford, despite the big gulf in weight.
Yeah, well, skills sometimes pay the bills, and we know for sure that Crawford has the skills over Canelo.
Speaking to Fight Hub TV, Jacobs gave his view on that potential contest ahead of Crawford, first stepping up to 154 pounds for the first time to take on Israil Madrimov. Skills sometimes pay the bills. We know for sure that Crawford has the skills over Canelo. It's just that sometimes power, weight, and experience have a factor in that.
Yeah, well, skills sometimes pay the bills, and we know for sure that Crawford has this.
So it'll be a good test for Crawford, but I'm a fan. The fans are the winner in that fight if it pans out. Crawford got a tough one coming up now, but I will be there on the night supporting them in that. After 2.5 years out, Jacobs recently lost to Shane Mosley Jr. He called time on an impressive career in the aftermath. Jaron Ennis is now the man to beat at welterweight after Terence Crawford made the decision to move up in weight.
Skills over Canelo. It's just sometimes power, weight, and experience may have a factor in that. So it'll be a good test for Crawford, but
Chris Algieri is expecting Israil Madrimov to provide Terence Crawford a hard night's work when they clash later this summer. The pair will meet on August 3rd in Los Angeles, live on DAZN, and the bout will see Crawford looking to become world champion in a 4th weight class.
Face to face.
In Madrimov, Crawford is coming up against an unbeaten fighter with plenty of experience in the amateur code when representing Uzbekistan. The current WBA champion at 154 pounds, Madrimov begins the bout a significant underdog, but Algieri believes he could be a big problem for the Nebraska man, and that his trainer could be a crucial factor. I think Israil Madrimov has the right idea. The Joel Diaz aspect is really important, said Algieri when speaking to ProBox TV. If he brings his best version of himself, he's very much a threat to even the great Terence Crawford.
I consider Israil the best 154-pounder in the division right now.
As Terence Crawford readies himself for his move up in weight to challenge Israil Madrimov, he spends some time talking to boxing media about his thoughts on this fight, what's to come next, and why he tells Shakur Stevenson to block out the negative criticism. Check out some excerpts of what he had to say below.
So why not go for the top guy in the division?
Crawford on what about Madrimov's style he'll be looking to neutralize. He said, "Just everything about him. He's a decorated amateur. He got a lot of experience in the amateur field. He may only have 11 fights, but he's 11 fights and a world champion for a reason. So I have to respect everything about him, just like I gotta respect everything about any other opponent that I've been in the ring with, because everybody brings something different to the game."
Right off the bat, I want to leave a legacy that's never been left before.
On his recent sparring session with Andre Ward, he answered, "It was dope! I appreciate Dre for even giving me the opportunity to step in the ring with him. I can say that I sparred Andre Ward, that's dope! So it was good sparring, it was a very good experience for me, I'll take it to the grave."
You know, inside and outside the ring.
On if he expects Madrimov to be a technically difficult fight, he replied, "It could be. Like I said in the past, every fight can be my toughest fight. I don't know until I step in the ring. Israil is definitely a tough opponent. We're not taking him lightly. We never took any shortcuts on this fight, and we shall see."
Business minded, just helping the young fighters come.
On the recent criticisms of Shakur Stevenson's most recent performance, Bud Crawford said, "Well, Shakur is one of the best boxers in the game, if not the best boxer, pure boxer. So I just tell Shakur to continue doing what you've been doing. Don't worry about the negative attention that you're getting. Don't worry about the backlash you're getting for beating the guy convincingly. Everybody's not a knockout puncher. Everybody's not going to go in there and knock every one of their opponents out. As long as you're winning in fashion where there's no confusion who the winner is, then you're doing something right."
Coming up, you know, giving them the courage and the outlet that the fighters before me never gave to us, you know, and at the same time, be at the top on my game as well. I always tell everybody I never go in the ring looking for the knockout, but if I smell blood and it's there, he out of there.
And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.